Most creative teams are experimenting with AI right now. Some are using prompt libraries, some are using tool stacks, and some even say that they are using AI systems. But are they really using AI systems? After watching this video, you will be able to tell whether or not your workflow can be qualified as a system or just a stack of tools. Before we get going with stress testing your AI workflow, you can already now ask yourself a question. Can your workflow handle that a new client comes in, that the project changes directions, and that another designer comes in and takes over your work, without you having to rebuild the structure, rebuild the processes, and rewrite the prompts? The answer to that question will give you a good indication to where we are at right now. Today I'm going to give you a practical test containing 4 questions that you can use to evaluate whether or not your AI workflow can be qualified as a system or just a setup that works under the perfect conditions. So let's start directly with the first question. Where do the important decisions live? Meaning that when you want to make a change to the output, is there a clear place in your AI workflow where you can make this adjustment in order to achieve the change? Where is the brand style defined? Where are the layout rules written? And to answer the question where your decisions live, you need to understand that when you're working with AI for creative outputs, the output is a result of a whole bunch of decisions. If you're using a long prompt as your method of achieving this goal, then all of these decisions are kind of interpreted into a long instruction. And that instruction is your prompt. And unfortunately, there is no one-to-one relation between an instruction in your prompt and a decision that controls an output. So when you want to make a change to a certain decision, there is no clear relation between the decision and a line in your prompt, basically. Your prompt is just the input, and then it's the AI model that interprets your prompt and uses its weights of different aspects, and in the end that is basically what makes the decision. And to give you a little bit more depth, when you're writing a prompt, that prompt is broken down into tokens, and the AI interprets those and balances those tokens and converts them into signals that influences probability. This means that your prompt doesn't have a direct connection to the final output. The model makes most of the decisions, and often it's drifting towards visual patterns it has seen frequently during its training. And the final output is a result of how that model balanced your tokens against visual patterns it has learned. So when you're changing one part of the prompt, you're not really changing one decision, but you're changing a random set of decisions. And that translates also to the output. So to summarize this, when you're using long prompts to generate a result, you can't really change one thing without affecting everything else. If you have a proper system, you know where you can make a slight change, and all of the outputs are automatically and correctly adjusting to this change. And that results in a controlled output. Systems separate decisions from instructions and make rules visible. You can have locked decisions, but you can also have properties that you're allowed to change. And this is a huge difference from centralizing everything into a long prompt. This allows you to make adjustments without starting from scratch, and that is exactly what creative agencies need. You need a foundation to lean against, but also the ability to make adjustments in a controlled way. The second test to stress your AI workflow is, are you able to hand over your work to another teammate and they are able to understand it and continue working on it? Basically, can they open your workflow and clearly see what determines how the results turn out, what is fixed and what is allowed to be changed? And do they need a long explanation before they continue working on it, or someone overlooking them when doing it? Then I would say it's probably not to be qualified as a system. A system removes the pressure from the people by building the rules directly into the workflow. It doesn't depend on someone's memory, but it works thanks to a clearly defined structure. An AI system makes decisions reusable and accessible, and they also separate the decisions so you can see clearly which one you can safely change. It also structures your decisions, so you can see which decision corresponds to which part of the output, which allows for a controlled change. Another situation that stress tests your workflow is when the client wants to make a change, for example the visual direction. So the next question is, what happens in your workflow when the direction changes? The traditional way is that you copy your old prompts and then you tweak them and adjust them manually, and then you regenerate, and usually it breaks, and you redo this process over and over again until the result is sufficient, and that is your output. Is this how your process looks like? Or are you able to reuse your decisions on your structure? Do you have a core structure with set rules? Are you able to tweak defined variables to achieve controlled changes? An AI system can achieve changes in a very efficient way. And once you have done one project, you can effectively produce more output for new clients, for new projects, by leaning against this foundation. If this is how your workflow is set up, it is more likely to qualify as a system. Scaling isn't only about producing more output. It's about reusing your logic without having to rebuild it every time. If every client forces you to rethink your logic, you're basically repeating work that could have been structured once. A system lets you reuse your decision logic and not only the final outputs. And reusing the decision logic means that you can get controlled outputs without building things from scratch. There is one more important question to this test. Are there rules in your workflow to make sure that your results are not slowly changing over time? And is there something validating these results to make sure that they are following the rules? If consistency depends on someone remembering what is correct, then it only works as long as that person keeps checking it. A system removes that pressure and builds the rules and validation directly into the workflow. This ensures that the results follow the same rules every time. If your workflow makes decisions visible, lets you adjust parts without breaking others, survives handovers, handles new brands without rebuilding everything, keeps results consistent without constant supervision, then it behaves like a system. If it depends on long prompts, personal memory, manual adjustments, and repeated trial and error, then it behaves like tools. And tools are powerful, but power is not the same as structure. Instead of asking what tools are we using, start asking what determines how the result turns out. Basically look at where the decisions and the logic behind the result live. And if you can't point that out clearly, you probably haven't externalized the logic yet in a way that is visible and accessible to you and your team. And if it isn't visible and accessible, it can't scale. It can't be used by other projects or other people, and then I wouldn't qualify it as a system. In the next videos, I'm gonna show you what happens when you actually try to structure prompts. What works, what doesn't, and what surprised me when I tested it. Because understanding a system is one thing, designing one is something else.